Hi everyone, welcome to my studio. My name's Kaylee. I'm a self-taught wet on wet oil painter. I use the modified technique of Bob Ross and Bill Alexander, and my favorite scenes to paint are definitely landscapes. I'm learning to paint a little bit of floral scenes, stills, animals, successfully completing about 2 dog portraits, a couple horses, and a moose here and there. But you probably won't see too much of that on here, because today we're going to do something really special. I have a new series coming out on clouds. We're going to have 4 episodes to it, and you can see I've already got it kind of planned out up here. Today we're doing clouds with a palette knife. So the colors we're going to be using today, we've got titanium white, bright red, phthalo blue, and here is an even mixture of alizarin crimson and phthalo green. Makes a really pretty gray, which we're going to use today. And just in case, I have also a little bit of alizarin crimson just on its own over there. Now I already have some liquid white on this top corner here. Real thin. You definitely don't want too much. If you have too much, it's not going to yield a very good result. You can test it with your finger. I kind of just look at it, and usually I put it on and then use paper towel, wipe off the excess. It works really well for me, but you can figure out what works best for you. Now that we have the paints, we'll talk about what we need to do this little cloud tutorial. Got my 2-inch brush. This is just going to get the color on the background for us. And I have the Bob Ross small knife. You can use, whatever you have, whatever sizes you like. I have a big one as well. I'll show you both ways. We're going to start with a little bit of phthalo blue just to get some color on the background. Just tap that into the brush. Not too much, it goes a long way. Working from the top down, I'm going to do little X's. Get the paint in on the top, and as you work down, it'll kind of fade out a little bit as we get closer to the horizon line. And we're just going to pretend for today that this is the horizon line, and we're just doing some sky examples, not full scenes. So as we get down, it'll get lighter and lighter, blending also with the liquid white. And just going to blend it in a little bit, get further along here. Just going to keep blending this a little bit to kind of get the look that I want here. And to get all of those brush strokes out, we'll just lightly go across the whole piece. And that's it. Just mixing together my alizarin crimson here and phthalo green to get that nice gray color. Picking it all the way up and flipping it over, doing your little X patterns, whatever. You want to get this really well blended so that you have a pretty solid color. And a good way to really check if you've done a good job mixing it, just grab a little bit of white and throw it in your color and see what you've got. To start out, we're going to put in kind of like the base of the cloud by taking a little bit of our gray and mixing it with the white. It creates a lighter gray, which is what we're going for. I'm going to take the paint and cut across, get that little roll there on the end of the knife. You probably can't see that too well. I'll see if I can
zoom in on that. We'll see.
And thinking some kind of wispy type clouds, those ones that are real long in the sky. They just kind of seem to go on forever. It's pretty simple. I know I say that, but it's going to be just real simple, similar to putting on a mountain, just kind of dragging the knife across and really getting that effect there. You don't have to be very precise on this. We're just kind of putting in a little bit of a base there. We're going to highlight them later. The light here on this one is going to be coming from the left. I'm getting again that same roll of paint here, and I'm just going to put in and work on a few of these clouds, and go ahead and follow along if you'd like. Just making some real rough movements. Again, you don't have to be exact. You know, a little shaky hand might help out, which is good because I was a little bit nervous for this today. So, got a little bit of a dirty knife here. Just go ahead and keep working on these. I'm going to do maybe like 2 or 3. Again, the horizon line is right here, so we want to kind of keep that in mind as how we're leading these clouds. And again, this is only the sky, so a horizon line maybe somewhere in this area, you know, use your imagination. I think I'm going to stop there and show you the next step. Now that we have all of this paint up on here, we have to remove some of that so that we aren't pushing around a bunch of paint, just kind of making mud happen up here. That's not really what we want. So take your clean rag, whatever, palette knife, and just scrape off the excess paint. On all of it, you know. And don't get too aggressive, but you just kind of put it level up there and scrape off the excess paint. It's okay if you push some of this around. They are clouds and they do blow in the wind, so it's not gonna really do anything bad for the effect. I take my big blender brush and we're just going to dance around these clouds in the sky, make them a little softer. I'm going to use a nice dry blender brush. I have a lot of them, so I'm not going to wash in between. Hopefully that's not a problem for you. So this one that we use to put on the background color, it has just a little bit too much dirt in it. We don't want to mix that up into this gray color too much more. Now it's going to already happen when we're blending, but anyway, clean, dry 2-inch brush, and we're just going to lift up the clouds real gently. With the brush, I'm just going right up against it and lifting. And I like to do this in kind of like a semicircle sort of thing. You know, if you're on a big canvas here, you may be doing it and lifting it towards the center. On this little one here, I'm gonna kind of do the same thing, just thinking that these are my edges here, lifting out this way. And then we'll pull this side back into the piece in the frame, just a little bit. Now, I'm going to pull it in the direction that the clouds are going, just to give them that wispy look. I'm pretty light, you may hear it, but I'm really, really light on the bristles here. I like the way these look, so I'm going to lift them a little more. But don't get too critical on yourself. Now, I really like using the small palette knife. I use that most. Something about the balance of it, I really like it. So you can use the bigger one. In fact, to show you that it doesn't really matter, I will put in the highlights on these clouds with and get some clean white here, pull it out nice and flat. And then we're going to add some of this highlight color, just the bright red, to make it real simple today. And just kind of mix it in, not too, you know, blended, because you don't want it to be like pink, but kind of like a marbled color. And it was a little bright, so I'm going to kind of tone that down a little. Got a little excited. This red goes real far. So the same way as before, just gonna cut off that roll of paint. And thinking where the light is coming is on, from the left over here. So it's gonna be touching on some of these high points. So that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna drag this knife in and around and let whatever needs to pull off. Kind of be light with it. Maybe a little over here. Get some movement in there. You don't want like all straight lines. Sometimes that's just the way it comes out with the knife, which that's okay too. We've got a little bit on there. Let's go ahead and go to the next one here. Put some highlight on, real simple. Just drag it across. I mean, you don't even have to spend that much time on it. Get some of these. Just want to get that highlight on the top. Just work it in. Maybe we'll put some in here on the bottom. Just taking out a little bit of the rough bottoms and kind of just pushing it in a little bit to that gray that we already mixed up here. Just making it a little bit of a softer edge. You can do that with your knife. Now that we got the highlight up on there, I'm going to pull off a little bit of the excess again, just like we did before. You just don't want to push around too much of this extra paint. Blending brush again. I'm going to lift this up. And blend it out. Real soft. Just barely touching the canvas. Try not to do too much, the more that you keep messing with it, lifting and pulling it out, the more it's going to turn into something you probably don't want. Doesn't mean you can't fix it, but I'm just going to leave that with this. We've got kind of a little gunk right there. Clean that up. And I'm going to pull these out a little more just because I really like that effect. Clean up the bottom. And you're in business. Throw a mountain over that, some trees. It's a real nice scene. And we're finished with episode 1. Thank you so much for joining me here. Stay tuned next week for episode 2 on clouds. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button or head over to my channel to become a member to get the full-length video.